If you're a fan of Mercedes or into cars in general, then you must be familiar with the legendary 300 SL Gullwing that was created in the 1950s by Mercedes-Benz. Many consider this Mercedes to be the very first supercar ever built. Today, those original Gullwings sell for millions on the car market and has one of the most iconic designs in car history due to its Gullwing doors. Fast forward 30 years later to the early 80s, when car tuning was taking over the industry by storm, with dozens of tuners sprawling up all across Europe. At the time, the competition was very intense and the limits were being pushed daily, it seemed. AMG was one of the first known tuners that mainly focused on engine work. Now, of course, they made body modifications like wide bodies and body kits, but in the early 80s, one of the up-and-coming tuners was a small company called SGS Styling Garage. Its founder, Chris Hahn, had founded the company in the late 70s while importing motorbikes. He found a niche clientele while dealing with sheiks in Qatar. Chris Hahn himself was a visionary with ideas he believed were extreme at the time, but it wasn't until he worked with this Arab sheik that requested an extreme makeover of his 560 SEC. He commissioned Gullwing doors along with the wide body the SGS was already producing for the 126 Coupe. Once the car was completed, he then made a special request that was never produced at that point in tuning history. The Sheikh told Chris Hahn, everything in this car makes it double the car than it originally was. It has double the luxury, double the engineering, and double the tuning. So he requested a special badge be made for his vehicle, a 1000 SEC badge. Chris Hahn at that point had never thought of this, but it was now the new standard for SGS modded 126s. And so the 1000 SEC and 1000 SEL were born. Now this particular 1000 SEC from 1984 was Chris Hahn's personal Gullwing. It was based off of a 500 SEC and it features the latest developed system for the Gullwing doors, including buttons on the inside and outside of the vehicle to close the doors. Earlier models, like our black 1000 SEC Gullwing in the collection, features an earlier design that required the driver to push a button on the outside of the door, jump into the driver's seat before the door shuts without any safety systems in place. This 1000 SEC has a revised design, which is incredible to see the evolution through every model that SGS produced. The earliest models of the Gullwing came with hydraulic struts that were manually operated. Now, creating Gullwing doors was no small feat, especially in the 1980s. First, you had to cancel the sunroof that almost all SECs came with. There's a very small amount of SEC slick tops ever created, so most SECs came with the sunroof. After canceling the sunroof, you had to reinforce the roof with aircraft-grade steel to be able to support the doors once they're open. This made it possible to drive the Gullwing at 100 kilometers an hour with the doors up, something the SGS showed off in their advertising campaign for the Gullwing in the 1980s. Then you had to create custom Gullwing doors and make it all look stock. All SGS designs were made to meet German TÜV safety regulations. SGS only produced 57 Gullwing conversions of the SEC ever, so this is one of 57, and we have a few more in the collection that we're going to be showing on the channel, so stay tuned for those deep dives as well. But for now, we're enjoying this 1984 beautiful 1000 SEC. SGS was known for putting falcon head shifters in their conversions for their Arab clientele. Now this was at their request because falconry was a very popular sport and still is in Arab culture. So showing off your falcon head shifter was a big part of the Middle East tuning era. And many Arab clients requested these shifters that we find in many SGS builds to this day. We had the privilege to display our Gullwings at the 2024 and 2025 Concours d'Elegance at Amelia Island. This year, we got to bring this particular model for our Fantasy Cars exhibit, which received praises from judges and spectators alike. SGS not only designed body kits and made coach build conversions, but they also made custom wheels. As we see on this SGS right here, these beautiful disc-shaped wheels that are a very radical design for the 1980s, but are timeless nevertheless and still look amazing to this day. Color matched to the paint, of course. Now this car actually made its way to America at one point in its life and was painted completely black. But the whole interior remained the same, and that's how we were able to identify it as this specific Gullwing. It made its way back to Germany into the hands of Chris Hahn, the original founder and creator of SGS, and it remained with him until we bought it when we started the Patina Collective. Now, as you guys can see, I'm wearing my SGS diamond encrusted custom piece made by Johnny Dang.
What's up, man? Where the boss at?
This called an SGS.
And we made this piece as a tribute to SGS, one of the greatest tuning companies of all time, and it's one of our favorite companies here at the Patina Collective. They made extreme conversions. From the Gullwing all the way to the Royale, they made extreme conversions. So make sure to stay tuned, guys. We have the SGS documentary coming for sure. Now, we had Chris Hahn visit the Patina Collective a couple years back, and he broke down a lot of the history that went into building these cars and how it came about. And the Middle East had a big role to play in not only the Gullwings, but also the 1000 SEC, the 1000 SEL, the Falcon shifters, and a lot of the tuning parts we see on SGSs to this day. Now let's park up this 1000 SEC and take a look at one of the most extreme conversions ever done to an S-Class. All right, guys, we're here today in sunny Florida at Fort Lauderdale Beach, one of the most beautiful beaches in Florida. And for the first time, this German car right here, this Styling Garage car, has graced this beautiful beach today. And we're right on the sand. As you can see, we're gonna pan right now to the ocean. You can see the ocean view. Starting at the front end of this 1000 SEC, we see the custom-made SGS front bumper. Now this front bumper, you will see it on a lot of custom SGSs from the era. This was the bumper that Chris Hahn had developed for Styling Garage. We see it on the limousines, on the Gullwings, and even the Marbella of the time. Now we see this beautiful 473U champagne metallic gold paint right here. This is the original paint code that came on this car when it was manufactured in December of 1983, making it a 1984 model. So this is based off a 500 SEC. This has an M117 5-liter engine. Now let's move along to these custom-made wheels right here by Styling Garage. These beautiful disc-shaped wheels that cover the whole hub. You do not see anything but this beautiful gold plate, and it matches the color. And this is actually not just a beautiful design, it's actually functional. When Chris Hahn visited us last year, he had told us that this has a turbine on the back which sucks all the dirt out from the brake dust and releases it from around this rim right here.
This was my wheel. They are very special. This has a cooling effect to the bearing onto the brake, and it keeps clean because the dirt or the hot air comes out here through this gap, and then it goes out. Used to be turbine inside, so it presses it takes it from the bearing and push it out.
So this is an incredible design with engineering in mind by Styling Garage. And of course, an amazing, beautiful look, very subtle. And when you're riding down the street, it looks incredible. We have the original SEC grille right here, but a special touch that SGS did was make it gold. Now this is a gold-plated 24-karat grille that lasted the test of time since the 1980s. It still looks incredible, so we love to see this. And of course, this is the pimp touch that you would put on your cars in the 1980s in Miami, in the Middle East, to tell people you had a little more wealth than the usual person. Moving on to the interior, we already spoke about how this was a custom bespoke interior. We see here this beautiful cream color matched with this brown and with cream piping. Now the theme goes throughout the car. We have it on the door cards. As well, the steering wheel, the custom steering wheel by Styling Garage is an amazing touch to the interior. And they also made a custom-made cluster that matches the rest of the dash. The whole dash is also cream. Now we spoke about the Falcon shifters, and we see it present in this car right here, and this is definitely a Middle Eastern touch that all the Arab clients used to demand back in the day. Falconry is a very big sport in the Middle East, and they use this as a sign of prestige for all the families out there, the royal families that participate. They had to have it in this 1000 SEC. The legend has it that they demanded the Gullwing doors, and of course they demanded the Falcon shifter. Now this is a more modified version and a more advanced version of the Gullwing doors. As we see right here, we have buttons on the inside and buttons buttons on the outside. Now these are the buttons to close the doors, which is great because another model that we have, an earlier model, you would see the button right here on the other door and you would have to press it and make your way inside before getting your head chopped off. So luckily, SGS fixed that and they revised the system in this model right here. So we have the safety by being able to come out here and press this button to close the door. This was designed in 1983 and still works perfectly to this day. Now you guys might have seen on the channel that our other door was malfunctioning early on when we got it, and we had to take it to RennTech, and the great people at RennTech took care of it. Hartmut himself put his hands on this car and took care of the door, and now it's working flawlessly. Let's get back to the interior and talk a little more about this car. Now this is pure Miami porn, 1980s core right here. If you're pulling up in the 80s in Miami and you're doing it big, it's cool to have your little SEC tricked out, but only the big dogs came with the Gullwing doors. Now imagine riding down the streets in the 1980s with these doors up. What an iconic time it must have been. To create Gullwing doors out of an SEC was no small feat, especially in the 1980s. But when SGS took it upon themselves to create this car right here, they went above and beyond to make sure safety was one of the first things they took care of. So first thing they did in the middle of these doors right here is they added aircraft grade steel to make sure to be able to drive this Gullwing with the doors up at 100 kilometers an hour without the doors failing. Now there's a famous legendary story that the owner of Sparrow challenged the owner of SGS, Chris Hahn, to a duel to drive their two cars, the Sparrow versus the SGS, with the doors up at 100 kilometers an hour. And supposedly, according to Chris Hahn, the Sparrow arrived with two doors missing. So that's an incredible story from Chris Hahn himself, but we don't know if it's true or not, but hey, we'll take his word for it. But guys, what an incredible feat to be able to drive this car 100 kilometers an hour. You guys seen us drive it down the strip today, something easy peasy for this beautiful engineered marvel. Now, we didn't drive it 100 kilometers an hour today, but we did drive it kind of slow over here on the beach, cruising along, showing the people and getting a taste of what it must felt like to be the god in the 1980s in the Gullwing. Another interesting fact about this car, when we decode the VIN to it, we see that it says order location tourist, and it says in brackets without USA. Now we're not sure what that means, but it's definitely a special order. Now the interior was ordered with velour, and it says Brazil in the brackets as well. So Brazil velour interior was ordered originally, that was obviously swapped out for this custom made SGS interior. SGS had to do a couple things to re-engineer these doors. These door hinges were re-engineered. All of these buttons right here were re-engineered. These were not on the original SEC. So super cool to see when these doors are open. You can see all the inner workings of the SGS Gullwing. Incredible engineering. They didn't just change the color of the seats, they did custom made seats. You can see it here. These are custom made seats you won't find in any other SEC. You can see by the ridges they made into the leather right here, the custom color, cream on brown with cream piping. Amazing. Another thing SGS did was add this B-pillar right here. The SEC is known for not having a B-pillar. Once they removed the sunroof and made these Gullwing doors, they had to add structural integrity to the car by adding the B-pillar. So very cool, amazing engineering. And we see throughout all the SGS builds, they went above and beyond to add all of these extra features to make sure they passed German TÜV and all safety regulations at the time. Coming to the back, we see this custom lip made by SGS. Now they implemented this lip on a lot of their builds. All the SGS Gullwings had this lip right here. Some of them may not have it, but this was definitely a cue that told you that this was an SGS Gullwing. We have the gold badging that says SGS Gullwing 1000 SEC. We have to shout out the family, Patina Collective, and these plates will be available soon on the website, guys. So make sure to look out and cop your Patina plate to represent in your city. Moving along to the back bumper, the SGS Euro back bumper. Just another touch that SGS would add to all their cars, front bumper, back bumper, and side skirts as well. Now let's talk about the side skirts on this car. AMG at the time would make body kits. SGS knew that. That was basically their main competition. So AMG was known for making wide bodies. SGS did the same, and they made full body kits. So that's front and back bumpers and side skirts. So we see right here the SGS side skirt, a very subtle touch, nothing too crazy. This car was made for a classy gentleman in Germany that wanted the subtle touches, but also something extreme. Another cool feature of this car right here is this fire extinguisher. You never know, these cars are old, things could happen, but also you're driving like a madman. You have the doors up, you might hit someone, you might start a fire, gotta have the extinguisher. Now, one thing you had to have in the 80s is phones, fax machines, and all types of gadgets in your car, and this car had to have antennas. 1, 2, 3 antennas we see. Now the antennas are missing for this, but we see the base on each side. So very symmetrical, very cool look, very 80s. All right guys, now that's the 1000 SEC deep dive on the Gullwing. Now let's take it back on the road and see what it is to be the biggest in the 1980s. We're here in Florida, in Fort Lauderdale Beach. It's something that hasn't happened maybe in a long time, maybe ever, but definitely hasn't happened since the 80s. Driving the 1000 SEC with the Gullwing doors up, just flying through Fort Lauderdale right now, an incredible experience. Everyone's taking a look, everyone's staring, everyone's taking pictures. Of course, it's neck breaking, it's mind bending. The two Gullwing doors up in the air, it looks incredible. So what an amazing experience. Rocking the SGS piece, of course, representing for our guy Chris Hahn in Germany. So one of the greatest tuners of the era, man. So it's an incredible experience, and we're blessed to have it out here today in Fort Lauderdale Beach. Incredible time.